Minnesota State Representative Liz Reyer represents District 52A in the Minnesota House, a member of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party for folks in Chicago. That's Minnesota's Democratic Party. She is the co-vice chair of the Health, Finance, and Policy Committee and serves on the Capital Investment and Commerce Finance and Policy Committee. I could cite a long list of legislative achievements, but one of the most recent was the Minnesota Debt Fairness Act, whose goal is to, quote, reduce the unfair burden of medical debt on Minnesotans that results from our inequitable and inefficient healthcare system. A member of the LGBTQ community, Representative Reyer has been leading the way to support and protect Minnesota's LGBTQ community, and she joins me now. Rep. Reyer, welcome to The Gailey Show.
Thank you, John. I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Okay, so affordability was the big issue that led to Democrats winning elections across the country on November 5th, including deeply into red states. And I've been asking this question to Minnesota elected officials about this cognitive dissonance I have about the issue of affordability, specifically here in Minnesota. Because on one side of the aisle, I see the trifecta from 2023, this huge list of progressive laws for the working class, paid parental leave, free college tuition for working class families making under a certain level of income, a new child tax credit, universal school meals, expanded eligibility for Social Security tax exemption. On the other side of the aisle, I see tax cuts for the wealthy. I see tariffs increasing our costs. I see healthcare costs soaring for 2026. Rural healthcare hospitals on the brink, grocery prices spiking. Help me understand how not everybody doesn't see that the Democrats and the DFL are the ones that are delivering for the working class.
Well, it is mind-boggling, isn't it? Because it's so clear that our focus as a party has been on making life more affordable for people across the state. One of the things I see, though, is that when I'm out door knocking, there are people who will never, ever benefit from these tax cuts for the wealthy, for the benefits for the wealthy, saying, well, I paid my own way through college. I struggled myself. And they're buying into this narrative that divides the people who have the least and pits them against each other to distract from what's happening on the more elite side of the fence. And so for me, what I find to be really helpful is to bring it back to really practical things when I'm talking to people and talk about, hey, but did you know we took out the mandatory add-on to gas prices? So now we're automatically saving pennies, a systematic amount on every gallon of gas we buy. We're making sure kids eat. And even if someone can theoretically afford their school lunch, life is complicated, life is hard, and hungry kids are hungry kids. It doesn't matter why. But I think when you can bring it back, do you want your granddaughter to go to school hungry? Do you want to not be able to afford to buy insulin and make it real to people? I think they're starting to get it. I'm feeling a change because it's so extreme with what's happening in the federal government and the wanton cruelty.
Speaking of cruelty, you are the co-vice chair of the Health, Finance, and Policy Committee, and folks are starting to get, because it's open enrollment right now, what their health insurance premiums are going to be in 2026, and these numbers are 3-4 times what they are currently posting or currently paying. We've been seeing the posting of this on various social media channels. I'd be curious your perspective on what's coming here as it relates to healthcare.
We are looking at a cascading effect on our healthcare system from the failure to pass the enhanced premium tax credits so far. Maybe they'll get there, maybe they won't. We took a step in Minnesota that I didn't like doing, but we renewed the reinsurance to help subsidize the individual market. But that could only take us about half of the way. And so on the one hand, we're looking at I think decimation of the individual and small group insurance system, which will drive many people into uninsurance, because people who can't afford a 60% health care premium increase also can't afford a 30%. That it has to be both, and we don't have that. So uncompensated care is going to go up. Providers are going to go out of business. More rural providers are going to close. Access to care is going to be diminished, and it's all preventable, and it is all just, it does just put my hair on fire. I just can't be any more outraged by this. And then on top of it, to have done that in the last session, stripping away insurance from people without the proper paperwork and denying them access to health care, it's short-sighted, it's bad economically, and it's just pure cruelty.
Can you unpack that for me? Because I have a hard time trying to explain it to certain family members. That when people don't have health insurance, it actually affects them because prices then go up if they're not able to pay for emergency care. If like all of this is cascading, and you can explain it so much better than I can. So explain to us why it is actually bad fiscal policy. It's bad for everybody. It costs us more when we have huge groups of people who do not have health insurance.
So, setting aside broader economic impacts, because there's all of that too, if someone, we'll just take me, for example, to start with. Let's say I didn't have health insurance and I let high blood pressure go. I let other health conditions that I don't actually have go until I am so sick that I have to go to the emergency room. Guess what? My needs don't end with just staying in the emergency room. I'm ending up with long-term, maybe lifelong chronic care, chronic condition, expensive treatments, children who don't have access to preventive care or immediate care end up again with expensive treatments. And those costs can't necessarily be recovered by those providers or those insurers. And so they pass them on to people who do have money and who do have coverage. And then the premiums for those folks go up. I mean, the cost of care is the cost of care. And if you don't get care when it's less expensive, it's going to cost more. And the people with the money are going to end up paying for it one way or another. It just, people don't stop being sick if they don't have insurance to get care. Does that help with your relatives?
Okay, I'm gonna record. I'm gonna take that clip and just send it to them. Sometimes it just gets so maddening. But we are talking with Minnesota State House Representative Liz Reyer, who represents District 52A, which for folks in Chicago is the South Metro of the Twin Cities. Next year is an election year. We all know that. You yourself are running for a Senate seat in the November election. In Minnesota, the session starts in February. What are you expecting is going to happen over that term? Because it's a split house still, and the one seat advantage for the DFL in the Senate. I mean, what can we expect in terms of legislation to help Minnesotans, if at all, given the split in the House?
I think that we will be trying, on the one hand, with the DFL side, to protect the gains from 2023, which we did a pretty good job of last year. And we will be looking to get visibility on gun issues. After this horrendous year that we've had at so many levels, and it just keeps piling in every day, more gun deaths here in Minnesota. So I think, I would like us to have good substantive hearings. And I think if we can force a vote, there would be Republicans who would support some of the more limits on some of the more extreme things. I think the GOP leadership knows that, and so they're going to resist it as much as possible. So I look for a lot of generation of public outcry. So I think but I think it's going to be, we're not going to have a lot of money to spend. Hopefully, we're not going to have a lot of holes to fill.
Mhm.
And I think everyone's going to want to be out campaigning as soon as possible. So I don't look for a special session.
Okay. Housing has come up a lot. It came up last year in the general election. It was part of a number of mayoral races in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Can you talk to us about your thoughts of why we're in the situation that we're in, but solutions that we can do to help bring down housing costs for Minnesotans and working class families?
I think that there are a couple of things. One is I think we can maybe slow the rate of increase. Absolute cut back in costs. I don't, it's really hard to get those things to happen with any type of prices, which means we need to make sure that people can be earning more so that they have more capacity to get under that 30% and not be housing burdened.
Mhm.
Um, we do need more affordable scaled units. One of the developments I'm looking at just in my neighborhood up the street from me is a place called Veterans Village, and it was built through a variety of sources. But there are these lovely small townhome types of units
Hmm.
where, I mean, I would move into in a heartbeat. Um, and looking at it and saying this fits beautifully in this single family neighborhood, and finding more ways to put limited scale multifamily without the, as many expensive layers built into the construction, while still having it be safe and sustainable and a pleasing place to live. I think looking for those opportunities, stopping the continuing to hold the reins on the private equity acquisition of housing and the destruction of the naturally occurring affordable housing. We
Mhm.
need to be careful about that, mindful about that. Uh, and I think that there will continue to be talk about how to affect the regulatory environment around housing. I haven't been on that committee for a few years. I'm not as close to that, but I know I hear about it from my mayors, and I think that we need to continue those conversations about how can we make sure that this investment in affordable housing can occur across the state.
I have just about a minute left before we have to hit the break. What would your response be to folks that are like, just build, build, build?
Uh, my response would be build what, build what, build what, because it needs to be the right building in the right place with a mind for the people who need it and with a mind to cultural competency. So cultures that have large extended families can also find places to live that are affordable, because that's a real gap right now.
I appreciate that. We are talking with Minnesota State House Representative Liz Reyer, who represents District 52A here in Minnesota. Can you stay with us after the break? I have a few more
Mhm.
questions, particularly about the queer community here
Sure.
in Minnesota. We're gonna come up on that break here. Before we do, please check out our GLAAD Media Award nominated podcast, This Queer Book Saved My Life. I interview LGBTQ guests from across the rainbow about a queer book that had a life-saving impact for them. Plus, we bring in the authors to join the conversation. This Queer Book Saved My Life is available everywhere you stream your podcast and at thisqueerbook.com. Stay tuned. We will be right back, and you can keep the conversation going. Follow us on Blue Sky. We're at thegailyshow.org on Blue Sky, and be sure to sign up for our AM950E newsletter as well. We have more from all of the LGBTQ shows on our station. Stay tuned. More after this break.
I don't know what
So
happened.
maybe we can pick up that question again of your perspectives on what the Trump administration has been doing to the Minnesota LGBTQ community and what we can do to respond.
Well, the Trump administration and the people who support him are doing everything they can to demonize communities that are causing no harm and, in fact, enrich our society. And so I think what they're doing is appalling. What we can do is, Minnesota, fortunately, is a place where we've got some protections in place. We need to guard them aggressively. and not not sit down, not ever stop talking about this or stop fighting about this. Show up for Transgender Day of Visibility on Thursday at the Capitol. Do all the things that we can, including owning who we are in public so that we take out fear from people. I do that even with things like my experience with domestic violence. I talk about that so that people lose some of the shame and the stigma. But I think we just got to. It sounds so simple, but we've got to just be fighters right now, I think, and we've got to protect our youth. I mean, the threat around conversion therapy being allowed again, and the ridiculousness around girls' sports. My daughter was a hockey player, and my daughter was a goalie and got concussions, and they were from playing with girls. I mean, kids are going to get hurt in sports, and you don't demonize the few kids who are trans kids. Trans girls are girls. So.
Right.
You are running for, thank you for that. And a final transition. You are running for the Minnesota Senate in 2026. And I know, Jim, you've got a question about that.
Well, it's an interesting perspective. I thought about running for the assembly in Wisconsin, that sort of first rung of the legislature. When you're making the transition to the state Senate, does your perspective change in any way? It's a more people and a larger physical area, or is it pretty much business as usual?
I've thought about that a lot because I always thought I would remain in the House and build some seniority. And then when Senator Carlson decided to retire, I realized that what I've observed is that senators' voices, while none of us think they're more important, they are more often listened to. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, then I will take this opportunity to use that platform. That's how I felt about it since my first endorsement. If I don't get endorsed, I at least have a chance to speak out for equity and justice. Okay, if I don't make it through the primary, I still had a chance, and so on. So I'll just keep doing that.
I'm really glad you're there. I'm very proud you're there.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It's really touching.
How can folks connect with you? Because I know you keep a blog officially, and you've got newsletters for following like what's going to happen when the session does start in February for your constituents. If they want to get in touch with you, what are the ways that folks can reach out?
Yep. LizReyer.com. That's Reyer. That's my campaign side, and I have a newsletter people can sign up for, and I have people on it from all over the country. You don't have to be local to get the newsletter. Same with my house. Go to house.mn.gov and look me up. We have the information, and then I'm on various socials, Blue Sky and Insta, and Facebook in particular. I walked away from X when they went to the devil. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so did we. And when Facebook put on there that they, explicitly said that, users go ahead, call, LGBTQ mentally ill and tell women that tell people that women are your property. Go ahead, just explicitly say these things. I was like, no, I'm done with you, Meta. We're out.
Yeah, I know.
We're just on Blue Sky right now and YouTube. And when Blue Sky goes fascist, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. Representative Reyer, very happy that we had time to talk with you today. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again in 2026 to hear how things are going in the legislature and on your campaign. But for right now, thank you for the time that you've given us.
Thank you.
I've loved it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for listening and or watching today. If you are on YouTube, subscribe, click like, leave us a comment. For folks in Chicago, up next is WCPT. Up next on WCPT is Choose Views with our friend Richard Chu on AM 950 Radio. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And then at 10 p.m. Central, step into the unknown with Greg Bakken on Ghost Box Radio. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.